What's up, what's up, what's up? Bramentor here. Anyways, loved making that intro, was kind of funny for me and also a bit of fun. But let's get down to the crux of the matter. And lo and behold, I brought you examples of me being right because I like proving myself right. I mean, nothing feels better than that. Feels better than sex, let's be real. However, I do want to give a couple thank yous. This video, the previous video that I'm talking about right now, did substantially better than I thought. Had way more views than I thought it would have. Over 2,000 views, so thank you very much for that. The ratio was very, very surprising. I was expecting like 10%, like dislike, so like 90% dislike, 10% like. It's at like 50%, as you can see over here, over my head. And also thank you to the people who commented. I think especially the big comments that devolved into like pretty big conversations of like scrolls of text. That is my favorite type of comments. So if you have anything to say, don't be like the guys you saw at the beginning who are just saying one sentence as if like just to like hurt someone's feelings. I mean, like, bro, I don't care. I was laughing it off. But like if you have actual like points, like arguments, man, please throw them in the comments. Always love to read those and love to interact and respond to them. And yeah, so let's get on to what this video is actually about. What is the difference between what you're seeing right now and Path of Exile 1? Please, someone illuminate me. This looks like the same game, except maybe better graphics, and you have a dodge roll. Last I checked, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but Path of Exile 2 was set out to not be Path of Exile 1, to be slower, more methodical combat. Yep, that is the video that I am talking about, that people lost their... Hold up. Let me bring back the elevator music. Okay, yeah, so that is the video that I was talking about. That video, probably like my most successful Path of Exile 2 video ever. Anyways, but enough of my own patting my own shoulder, say it like that. Let's see what other more knowledgeable, more experts in the Path of Exile genre streamers had to say about this. People who have experienced the endgame and really know what they're talking about, unlike an idiot like me who only entered low-level maps and realized that the game is fucking PoE 1, basically since Cruel. But anyways, take it away, Ziz.
Even the build I'm playing now does not look very crazy compared to the builds people are playing. Oh, sorry, yeah. Somebody in chat just remind me, 137 million DPS, I think is the current record. Which I don't think many people are expecting in the early access, because we saw the campaign, and from their interviews and what they were talking about, the campaign was what I was expecting the game to be. I was not expecting people to be one-shotting Ubers. It'll be interesting to see like when they come back over the break. I don't mind too much either way though, I will say, because I really enjoy PoE 1, and this is now more similar to PoE 1, and I really enjoy PoE 2.
What? Zizaran is saying that PoE 2 is more similar to PoE 1 right now? And that he was expecting that the way the acts were, the campaign was, that's what he was expecting the game to be? What a noob, what a moron. He clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. You know what? Let's see what Criparian and Talkative Tree, I'm not sure how to say his name. Let's see what they think about it. I wonder.
Exile 2 feel a lot like that OG Path of Exile 1 experience.
They definitely went through a lot more revisions in the first few acts. Yeah, I think the first act is quite quite good overall as like just someone who is playing a game. They're like, is this game good? I want to play the game. I think they're going to have a good time in Act 1. Yes.
Yeah. I agree with you there, and I think that's why we've seen really high player numbers even 3 weeks after the launch, because a lot of people, I'm guessing, are working their way through those first 3 acts and having a great time. And then once you hit Cruel, the game does fundamentally change. It feels a lot like Path of Exile 1 to me. And then Endgame 2 feels a lot more like Path of Exile 1, like you said. I'm on a monk though, so it might be a little bit different, but I'm clearing screens, I'm moving fast through the game, and it's not that methodical approach I felt like I was taking in those first 3 acts.
Did he just say that the game, after about the first 3 acts, starts to feel a lot like Path of Exile 1? Who else said that? Act 1 and Act 2, fantastic, right? The pacing was great. By the time you hit Act 3, you're kind of experiencing Path of Exile 1 from that point on. Ah, right. It was me again. Yeah. Ah, God, I love being correct. Anyways, let's see what other people have to say about it, right? Let's see. Let's give it a shot. I mean, what's the worst that can happen, right?
Now, the more that I've played into this endgame, the further I feel it is actually the vision of Path of Exile 2. And what I mean by that is, endgame feels like a complete opposite of what Path of Exile 2 starts out and builds up to be, right? When you're playing through the base game, there is difficulty in this back and forth, really great combat that you're getting in the campaign. You can respawn on death. You can respawn at checkpoints. There's checkpoints before boss fights. You go in, there's a hard boss fight, you die, you respawn, you go again, you try again. You do it a few times, you learn the boss's different moves, how it telegraphs everything. Okay, now I know when he does this, audio cue or this, I need to go here. Like, there's all these pieces to learn, and it's great for all of that. There's really great density in the campaign. I think that's something that doesn't get talked about enough, but the density of monsters feels really solid, like near perfect. You don't feel like you're running around and there's just nothing ever, but at the same time, you don't feel like you're running around and it's just constantly monsters always on top of you. Different zones have different densities. It just feels really solid. And then, of course, also within the campaign, there's a lot of tutorials to kind of teach you some basic things along the way. So I felt like coming in, yes, I had some PoE 1 experience, but with Path of Exile 2, I felt like I could come in still, and it would teach me some new ways that things worked, and I never felt confused, which I will say in Path of Exile 1, I felt confused many times when I played through, even after hundreds of hours. Sometimes I'd come back in and I'd still be like, what is this doing? What is this mechanic? Why are these like this? There was still a lot of confusion. So I think they've done a fantastic job there in clearing that up. But once you get to the end game, and honestly, kind of in Cruel, it starts to lose the vision, right? Where you start to just get too powerful and you lose a lot of the good combat and stuff. But it's really in the end game that you just start to get into the absurdity, where instead of difficult back and forth combat, it's just kind of one-shots both ways, right? You either are getting one shot or one-shotting everything. And again, that kind of reflects how I feel when I would be in Path of Exile 1. I'm running around, nothing matters, all the mobs are just paper thin, blowing up everywhere. And then there's a reflect mob, or there's whatever, and I just go, and I'm dead. And I'm like, okay.
Been about it being too hard or Souls-like, which I vehemently disagree with. PoE 2 peaks in difficulty in Act 2 of the campaign. From then on out, the game just gets easier and easier. We're at the point now where the only distinguishing factor from PoE 1 builds and PoE 2 builds is the lack of a super powerful movement skill.
I just want to include this because he talks about an important point, which is essentially driven from my whole argument of why this game is PoE 1 rather than being what PoE 2 should have kind of been based on the campaign. And this is the point of the one-shots, that people seem to not get through their brains about what I'm talking about.
So I did a list with the topics that I find that are the most annoying to me. One of them, we're gonna start with the gameplay. One of them is like the one-shot dead out of sight. So when you
One-shot dead out of sight, which in my opinion doesn't happen anywhere near as frequently as PoE 1. So personally didn't experience any off-screen deaths, like anything off-screen hitting me. But that's his experience. I haven't even had a mob that hits me from off-screen. Like the gorillas charge you pretty fast, but I think that's manageable. I haven't seen anything that like hits you from off-screen. The only thing I can think of is maybe like a yellow, like a rare mob that has the lightning affix, that like lightning strikes hit at random, and it might be like, especially if you're coming from the top and the monster's at the bottom and you pulled its minions, the lightning strikes can, I believe, can hit you while you don't even see the rare. But personally, I don't remember that happening. But that's the only thing I can think of that, like, maybe.
when you are running to a map and you just die and you don't even realize where they come from, and that is really annoying. One thing is like you having a gameplay.
But I do agree that if it does happen to people, it is extremely annoying and it should never happen unless... Actually, no unless, because there are already abilities that like can hit stuff off screen. In my opinion, abilities that hit stuff off screen and you being hit by stuff that are off screen is bad game design. You should be able to see what you're hitting. You should recognize it in your brain that you're trying to hit something. Not this weird bullshit of like, oh, where did this corpse come from? Oh, I guess I shot it back when I was passing by and like didn't even explore this area yet.
That is challenging and you need to roll and need to fight somehow.
Yeah, so this point,
Realize where they come from, and that is really annoying. One thing is like you having a gameplay that is challenging and you need to roll and need to
there's part of the game that is challenging where you need to roll, where you need to avoid stuff.
fight somehow. Other is just you die from nowhere.
Or, and this is the crux of the matter, what my biggest problem is. If the possibility of dying out of nowhere exists, that means your class, your gameplay is supposed to be hold the attack button, in this case for most players, right click button, hold that while you're moving so that nothing can hit you before you hit it.
Another one is Delirium spawn on feet. So when you are playing a Delirium map and suddenly the mobs spawn on your feet and you die from corner earth without even realizing.
Delirium is probably the worst offense to the gameplay of PoE 2. And yes, people love Delirium, I get it. The problem is, compared to everything else in PoE 2, Delirium literally tells you, hey bro, you need a massive AoE map deletion button that you can spam. Why? Because that's how many mobs there are. I have absolutely no idea why Delirium is copy-pasted from PoE 1 to PoE 2. Again, of course, yes, it's early access, everything is subject to change. Sure, whatever, I get it. I'm just saying that Delirium, as it is now, compared to like any other activity in maps, is bollocks. Like, if you do a map, the packs are not stacked together. There's usually a lot of gaps, unless of course you take like a modifier that increases pack sizes by a shit ton, then they would start overlapping more. But for the most part, right now, the game is very... you have room to play. You know, Delirium, nah, forget everything you knew about the game, blow everything up, because otherwise there's no other way. Like, what are you gonna do? You can't even TP out, because if you TP out and you TP in, like, the monsters are still there. It's not like the time keeps going while you're away. So it's like you have to deal with it. And if you are a first time going into a Delirium, which happened to me, by the way, on like my third map, I was like, oh cool, Delirium, let's see, right? Bro, like, what is this? Like, my build is not wasn't made for just like AoEing the whole map. It was AoEing stuff, sure, but it didn't AoE the whole map, right? So I got surrounded, right? And yeah, I dodge rolled a lot. Yes, if you saw the previous video, yes, I dodge rolled a lot. And it did help me out to escape to a certain degree, but like they will catch up to you. Like you roll into more mobs, right? It's like you do get surrounded at some point. But I did roll out, so fuck you. Anyone who says the rolling is fine. Okay, it was bullshit. Yes, I still died, but still, I should have died way earlier. Anyways, off topic. But yeah, the point is that it's like because of how the game is designed, you have to go fast. You have to blow everything up without even seeing it, because otherwise, the monster's damage scales up so much that if they see you and they charge at you, and you didn't kill them before they made it to you, you are likely dead, or like you lose half your HP. I'm like, when I say one shots, people think it's like, oh well, a 10k hit. No, one shot, I mean like the reaction time of a player, especially casuals, is less than the time it takes to take the hits. Like 3 mobs that like attack you at the same time, or like very similar times, is like boom 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 and you're dead. That's technically not a one shot, that's 3 hits, that's a 3 shot. But your reaction time as a casual player is not that good to be able to deal with it, right? To the point where it's like some people might think that there was no outplay for it, right? Even though, yes, there is. It's called dodge roll, sure. What if there's 10 monsters? What if there's 20? What if it's Delirium, right? It's like a breach. Like, you're not gonna roll out of anything. The only solution in that case is blow everything up, or you're dead. There's no other gameplay mode here. Blow everything up. You can't even escape because you're so surrounded by it. Right. So that's pretty much the point that I was trying to make. Yeah. So, any questions? You assholes that don't even understand the point that I'm trying to make? That is the game. That is PoE 2. Yes, I'm enjoying the campaign. I'm on like my 8th character redoing the freaking campaign. Okay, great. That part of the game is fine and it's fun and I like to try new things. But knowing full well that what is I'm like where I am going is literally the end game of blow everything up before it blows you up, and that is literally the gameplay you're supposed to play as soon as like maps tier 1 essentially. You might not get the gear unless if you're in solo self-found, you probably don't have the gear. If you're in trade, bro, what are you doing? Well, let's be real, like you're doing that probably in cruel, okay? But the whole purpose of the maps, as soon as possible, you need to get to a point where you're blowing everything up. That is the game design. And again, in my opinion, that should not be the game design. That should be the goal after you do pretty much everything and you get to like tier 16, 17 maps and like you get level 5 bosses and shit like that. Like maybe then, you know, when you beat the game, sure, go ahead, blow everything up. I don't care at that point, or like very close to beating the game. But if you're in the middle of playing the game, which is literally like the end game, but not like the end of end game, you just enter end game, that should not be the goal. But right now, that is the design philosophy. The design philosophy is as soon as possible, even in cruel, get as much AoE as you can, move as fast as you can. I'm not even going to talk about Magic Find, that's definitely going to get nerfed. But the problem with the game is that it is designed this way. And yes, I understand, the RPGs are meant for blowing up stuff, yada yada yada. That's fine. That's something to work towards, not something that you should expect to achieve or expect to be like the only real solution to doing maps. That doesn't make any sense to me. The problem is the way the maps are designed right now. They are huge. Mobs are spread out. They have, I wouldn't say they have a lot of HP, but it's like they have enough HP. And if you can blow up at tier 1, you can probably blow up at tier 5 and at tier 7, right? It's like the HP increase is not even that big. So it's like you need to build an AoE build that blows everything up, like Monk, like Freezing Monk, right? and just right click your way to victory. And when you can't blow everything up because like you're not one-shotting, you get a small upgrade so you can keep doing the same thing. But if you're doing the same thing, what is the freaking point of the freaking game? It's like playing Division, going into the red zone, and you're at like the lower level of the red zone. To any Division lovers here, and you're killing mobs and like they're dying in one hit, and then you go to like the higher level of the red zone and everything is a bullet sponge. So it's like, well, I just need the same weapon but better stats on it. Gameplay! No, that's not gameplay, that's fucking degeneracy. Okay, there's no improvement. As soon as you start blowing stuff up, there is no improvement to your gameplay aside from more damage, bigger number, because this has more HP. There is absolutely no skill involved here, and you're just relying on an RNG item drop that has like the perfect stat roll, whatever, and you're like, now I can do more damage so I can one-shot everything faster.